New place, who dis? Yeah, look, it's a work in progress. This might not be the setup I run with all the time, but for this video, because I can't be bothered looking for another spot to do it, you're just gonna have to deal. Benjamin Lasky, aka Quadeca, is a YouTuber turned art pop extraordinaire, and he has just put out his latest record, I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. Now, he seems to be trying his hand a little bit at sort of like a concept record here. Like, he's shooting for a narrative, he's shooting for the stars. Even more so than on his last full-length record, From Me to You. This concept being that, he's committed unalive, and now his ghost is sort of hanging in this limbo, this kind of purgatory, and is running out of time. Wants to make things right, is kind of going over past regrets. It's a whole big thing. For me, on this record, I think that the production really steals the show. Like, it is a even bigger step up from the last record. Vocally, he's really taking on and sort of embodying the very breathy styles of a lot of indie darlings. Sufjan Stevens and Conor Oberst, Bon Iver's, you know the ones. But he still has those emo rap tendencies like a Juice WRLD or a Lil Peep. On the song Tell Me a Joke, we get warbly guitar picking, ghostly vocal harmonies, and a building climax. The joke is on Quadeca here. His passing has made him hyper-focus on his regrets. There's a bit of Eve's tumor about the very viscous and freaky swirls of orchestration. Even the slightly noisy climax is giving me a bit of that too. I also catch whiffs of Too Bright era Perfume Genius. Look, there's a lot to take in, but Quadeca really handles these influences super sensibly. Lovely track. And the following track, Don't Mind Me, I like just as much. The vintage 8-bit synth chords and glitchy beats are making me think of what Sufjan Stevens was doing on his last solo full-length record, The Ascension. Multi-phase track featuring a neoclassical section full of tremolo-bowed violins and airy grand piano arpeggios. It sounds something like if Juice WRLD leaned more into a chambertronic influence. In a good way. Born Yesterday is a grand piece of lo-fi, shoegazy, hypnagogic, indie-tronic chamber folk. Yeah, the main refrain and subsequent descending vocal melody are an unassuming earworm. I wasn't born yesterday. The song, to me, mostly sounds like something out of a Grizzly Bear track from their sort of earlier eras, but more electronically tinged with some programmed drums. While I think the swells of synth and baroque pianos are very sweet in the beginning of house settling, it all climbs to a pretty intense boiling point, but the Danny Brown feature on this track is almost overpowered by all of the busyness that is going on sonically. He really just loses most of his vocal presence. And on top of that, the glitchy distortion and booming industrial beats really clash against each other, causing a lot of friction, but a lack of dynamics in the mix. It's almost like chaos without a cause. By contrast, Knots is a really jumpy, driving piece of synthesized post-punk. This track really reinforces the narrator's anxieties about the events that led to his passing. Musically, there is a lot of clipping influence for me personally, particularly with all the screeching noise and stuttering tones underlying the beat. Disorienting at points with how much is being packed into this thing texturally, but it's not like anything here makes no sense. We get some warping chimes and syncopated snares on the back end. It's easily the most abrasive song on the record by far, and feels like a slap in the face compared to everything else that we've heard so far. Come to think of it, a slow tie feature might have suited this song nicely. FANTASYWORLD sees the measured chamber music come back for the longest cut on the record. Not only does it do chamber, but we are pounded with a full-blown arena-sized piece of rock instrumentation, complete with spectral harmonies that glide over the controlled mayhem. The strings and synths all reach such a fever pitch that it almost basically compresses in on top of itself until it all crumbles away, and then we are brought back to the piano progression from earlier. We coast out on an oceanic wall of tones. It kind of sounds like some Lovecraftian sea monsters creeping up to the surface of the water. Fractions of Infinity is some Flaming Lips-esque neo-psychedelia. Lyrically, it's a song about potentially giving in to the idea of God and drifting away into nothingness. And this is starting to tie up the haunting ghost narrative that we've been following. throughout the record, particularly as the spirit is having to face this impending doom. The Sunday Service Choir edition is such a beautiful touch. It's a lovely, soulful addition to an already, glorious track. And Quadeca's kind of boyish vocals actually keep up quite nicely. On Cassini's division, Quadeca's spirit finally transitions to static. Seriously, there is a 3-minute piece of droning static that closes out the track. It's reminding me of Plastisphere off of that Matmos record, Plastic Anniversary, just in kind of like that sound collage-y, music concrete kind of thing it's trying to do. Look, it's not really a favourite for me in the context of everything else, but overall it's a pretty moving statement to close the record out on. And overall, this is a very commendable step up from his last record. He really has shed his cocoon on this one. He's fleshing out his emo tendencies into something that feels quite mature. A lot of the time he sounds like he is one with the mysticism, like his voice is haunting the material here. It really adds a layer of depth to the concept that this record presents. Yes, it has its flaws and some mild growing pains, that much can be said, but I really do think that this is a step in the right direction though, and can only hope for improvements in the future, honestly. I'm feeling an 8.0 out of 10. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, maybe leave a comment, maybe leave a subscribe. Don't forget to wash your toes, because they fucking stink. This has been another Dan Will review special. Somewhere around here will be the option to subscribe, and somewhere around here will be the option to watch another video that I have made on this channel, so don't you dare miss that opportunity! Don't let the CIA enter your walls. You must not let them enter your walls under any circumstances. Lovely boy. Have a blessed day!